ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take this moment to say thank you for listening to the Real ResQ podcast. It means a lot to me that you enjoy these stories as much as I do. Since the start of this podcast, we've had a lot of support from all over the world. It has been amazing. Now, we have companies joining our team that also want to say thank you for all that you are doing out there standing the watch. These companies are offering discounts on their products as a way to support the rescue community and those tuning into the Real ResQ podcast. Just go to therealresq.com, click on sponsors, and see these incredible offers for yourself. This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. Access, because when lives are at stake and conditions are challenging, clear communication is of the utmost importance. SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. And Versalifts, to be your best, you need to squat your best. Breeze Eastern, they dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. The Axness PNG wireless ICS system can bring cutting-edge wireless intercommunication system technology to any aircraft. The PNG system can be fully integrated into an existing ICS system or can be carried on and off as a mobile base station. They can go anywhere at any time on any aircraft. Plus, with the strongest and most robust waterproof handheld in the market, this system can take a hit and keep working. Their wireless intercom systems are designed to enhance situational awareness through improved communication capability. This system brings superior noise canceling technology to eliminate rotor wash and engine noise from your ICS. The Axness PNG wireless system is currently deployed in more than 1,800 public safety, air ambulance, and search and rescue aircrafts worldwide. I have personally used the Axness system in 4 different countries and on 5 different airframes. It is awesome. If you want more information, contact them today at axness.com. That's AXNES.com. You just make sure you tell them Quinny sent me. SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help your helicopter training. They train daytime, nighttime, aerial firefighting, hoist, long line, fast rope, rappel, and more. They can assist your program with standardization and safety checks or just an FAA annual refresher. With the certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crew, they are ready to help your agency keep up to date with current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. Plus, right now, SR3 is offering 10% off anything in their web store with the promo code, all capital letters, Real ResQ, REALRESQ. Plus, they are offering another 10% from their partners Petzl and their equipment. All you got to do is send an email to info@sr3rescueconcepts.com. Mention this podcast, the Real ResQ podcast, and they'll take care of the rest. And Versalifts. When you're at the gym working on your squats, building your leg strength for the next rescue mission, depth matters. If you're like me, getting below parallel on your squats is tough. Well, allow me to introduce Versalifts heel inserts. These gems have become one of my new favorite accessories in my gym bag. Simply place them into your regular training shoe, either on top or underneath the insole, and bam! You've got a heel lift benefit of a weightlifting shoe, but the comfort and flexibility of your regular trainers. So the next time your workout just has heavy squats, grab your V2 strength inserts. Or how about a run, pull up, push up, air squat, and another run? Grab your V2 endurance inserts. Or my own personal workout of running, clusters, and ring muscle ups. Grab your original V2 inserts and go crush it. Check them out today at vlifts.com or on Instagram at Versalist. And when you're ready to get a few pair of your own, make sure you get your 10% off with the Real ResQ discount code. Squat well, friends. In February of 2023, the United States Coast Guard responded to a vessel in distress. The Mayday call came in, and two 47-foot motor life vessels, as well as a helicopter, showed up on scene. As the helicopter was watching the 47-footers work to try to help the mariner, the decision was made. It was time to put the rescue swimmer in the water. At the same time, the flight mechanic on board grabbed his video camera. What he captured that day went viral. The U.S. Coast Guard rescue swimmer Instagram page, that video hit over 90,000 views. As a matter of fact, that video hit not only local news, including the Astoria, it also made national news, including the New York Times, CNN, and Fox News, just to name a few. Well, today in this episode, we get the crew to give us a full debrief of that case. So please welcome the entire crew, their story, and what they did that day, the Coast Guard helicopter crew of the 6009. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ. Today, this is going to be awesome. I'm totally pumped. I've been actually pumped about this for a long time. We have the crew, yes, the entire crew that was part of the Astoria, Oregon dude that jumped on a boat got hit by a wave and it flipped over, and our boy's in the water swimming over to it and it gets all pumped when it gets back into the aircraft. That's right, it's the entire crew. What aircrafts will we fly in? What number?
6009.
The crew of the 6009 U.S. Coast Guard. What's up, fellas?
How's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Dude, I cannot thank you guys enough for coming on. And let me get into a little introduction to make sure I've got everybody. The pilot in command was Mr. Will what is it?
Sirokman.
Sirokman. Sirokman. I should have known. I should have remembered that. Sirokman. Sir, sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Will Sirokman, the pilot in command, sitting left seat in this in particular incident, right?
That's correct.
Tripp Haas, yeah? I got that one, didn't I? Hayes. Tripp Hayes. God, I even practiced that. It's terrible. You were the SIC on the aircraft, sitting in the right seat. Our two flight mechs, Joe Ivy, flight mechanic who actually did the hoisting, and our second flight mechanic, Kyle Turcotte, yeah. Oh, the only one I got. It's great. And you were the flight mech that was in the aircraft filming everything, which went totally viral and everybody knows it. And then we have a brother of mine, United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 1032, Mr. Branch Walton. Guys, stoked to have you guys on. Thank you. Thank you. So let's do this. The first thing I want to do, actually, if you guys want to introduce yourself a little bit and we'll start with you. Like just a quick brief, U.S. Coast Guard. Go.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going? Will Sirokman. I actually grew up in Seattle, so just right up the road from Astoria. Currently stationed down at ATC Mobile in Alabama. So as an instructor pilot, I'm part of the Advanced Helicopter Rescue School instructor team. And prior to Mobile, I was in Sitka, Alaska, and Cape Cod, Massachusetts, doing search and rescue.
Nice. Right around my backyard. Just saying. I like
go.
that. Cool. Tripp.
All right. Good morning. Tripp Haas. I'm actually from here in Mobile, Alabama, where I'm stationed right now at ATC. Product of officer candidate school, and then flight school tour in Astoria, Oregon, and then Sitka, Alaska. Came down here to Mobile this past summer, and like Will, part of the AHARS team.
Nice. AHARS, can you say that the whole thing?
Absolutely. Advanced Helicopter Rescue School.
Nice. Thank you. That way I don't have to say it later.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate it. Joe.
Yeah, Joe Ivy, grew up in Independence, Missouri, and I've been in about 17 years. Hit up Cape Cod, Sitka, Traverse City, and now I'm on the stand team, the enlisted stand team out of Mobile here, and on the AHARS crew as well.
Cool. You said Missouri?
Yes.
You know there's no ocean. How did you find the Coast Guard?
That's
in the very middle of the country.
That myself. Yeah, that's a very long story, but
Okay, we'll save it.
I honestly
Save
don't
it.
know how.
Oh, I like that. All right, Kyle.
AT1 Kyle Turcotte, on the enlisted stand team with Joe, also a AHARS instructor. Been in for going on 13 years now. Been stationed in Cape Cod, Mobile, did the stand up for the 60s in Puerto Rico. Now back here on the state.
Excellent. And my boy Branch.
Branch Walton. I'm originally from Greenville, South Carolina, and this is my first unit here in North Bend, Oregon. So.
Oh, you're up in North Bay. Coos Bay?
Yep.
Oh, right on. Cool. Yeah, I was in Humboldt. I used to go up there all the time. And yes, I'm from Massachusetts, so Cape Cod. I know Cape Cod. Hey, all right. Right on. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate that. All right, so let's do this. Now I'm gonna get into a little bit of the. I just want to read an article. Everybody in the rescue world has seen this video that Kyle shot, but again, I got to go to it. So, the Astorian, which is the local newspaper in Astoria, Oregon, they came out with this article and says, police arrest a man for theft after boat rescue. A Victoria, British Columbia man suspected of leaving dead fish on the porch of the Goonies house in Upper Town was arrested on Friday night for theft, hours after he was rescued from a capsizing boat near the mouth of the Columbia River. Jericho Labonte, 35, allegedly stole the boat from West Mooring Basin in Astoria and took it past the Columbia River bar into the Pacific Ocean. The U.S. Coast Guard received an emergency broadcast from the vessel, personal craft Sandpiper, and sent boat and air crews. Hazardous surf made rescue by boat dangerous, officials said, so air crew lowered a rescue swimmer. Game on. All right. So I want to back up to the very beginning of this, before you guys got called out. What were you doing? Now, all of you guys have said you're with AHARS, so the Advanced Helicopter Rescue School. Did I say that right? AHARS? Yeah.
Yep.
And so you guys were out there with actually a training class, an AHARS class. And that's actually why, Branch, you were down there, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So, Will, if I can start with you, what was the deal? Were you guys out flying? Were you on the ground or?
Yeah, I can kind of paint the picture. So that was Friday, and it was basically Branch's graduation day, the last week of the 5-day course. Because of the weather forecast, which was heavy seas and high winds, we were going to do a heavy seas training day. But actually, based on the forecast, we thought it might be outside of our training limits. So generally, if the winds are sustained over 40 knots, or seas breaking waves bigger than 15 feet or swell greater than 20 feet, that's kind of our training limit. So the forecast was showing that we'd exceed that on that day, but it was close enough that we thought we're going to go fly and evaluate the training area, because sometimes we can find pockets to work where we're going to be, within limits. And so that it was unique that we flew out basically with 4 instructors on board, because a lot of times we would already have students on board at this point. But because we wanted to evaluate the training area first, Tripp and I, Joe and Kyle all flew out together, and we figured we'd give it a look. So the weather at the airport was not terrible. Like, it was like 25 knot winds and VFR conditions. We were able to head out to the training area, and as soon as we were heading out there, the winds were really picking up. It got to just about 40 knots in the Columbia River, the Clatsop Spit area, that's kind of one of our main training areas for the heavy seas rescue. And so we were doing some approaches, evaluating winds, and basically determined that the winds were sustained about 45 knots. So at that point we were kind of like, I don't think, we'd already made the decision we weren't going to try to waive our training limits that day. Sometimes we can get approval from the ops boss to train when they're outside of limits, but because of the forecast for increasingly higher winds and larger seas, we were like, hey, if we're outside of our limits, we're not going to train today. So we were pretty much right at that point. We had radioed back to Senior Chief Kirkendall that, hey, we're seeing winds at this level. Probably we'll keep looking, but we may not be able to train. And that's the point where the Maydays started coming in. So, and we were able to overhear it. I think Kyle and Joe heard it in the back on the radios.
All right, real quick question. You said you went out with 4 guys. So it was you, Will, and then Tripp, Joe, and Kyle. You 4 went out. So where's Branch?
I was in the classroom chugging water and trying to get pumped up to go do training. So.
Oh, this is getting better. Oh, I like this. All right. All right. So let me go to Joe and Kyle real quick. You guys heard the Mayday over the radio?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was a very short Mayday call. No real amplifying information to it. So just a real quick Mayday, Mayday. And we heard it over the radio, heard Sector reply to it. And then Sector couldn't get him back over the radio. So we had to call to Sector and say, yeah, we heard it too, so that they could start triangulating things and kind of figuring out where it came from. But it was very, everything was just normal on our flight in to get Branch, because we were heading in to pick him up, and actually on the approach to pick him up to go do training is when we heard that initial Mayday call.
Oh, so you guys were on your way back to land to go.
We were,
guys.
so we fly from Astoria, Air Station Astoria, to Cape D pad,
That
where
would
the
be
motor
Cape Disappointment, which is north. Just throwing that out there. Gotta help everybody out a little bit.
Right. Thank you.
Just for the record, guys in Australia might not know, so I'm just trying to help them out a little bit. All right.
Fair enough. I'll try to be a little more descriptive here, but we fly into there to pick our students up. So we fly in with 4 guys, and they're all instructors for AHARS, and then 2 of us get out and we swap out with students that are sitting at the classroom. Plus, we pick up a couple of rescue swimmers with those students. So what should have happened is we should have flown into that pad. One of our pilots got out, one of the flight mechs got out, and then 2 students, a pilot and a flight mech, gets in with us. And then we also pick up 2 rescue swimmers and head out to do our evolutions.
Nice. Okay. So you're headed up to Cape D landing pad. Branch is coming out, throwing his stuff over his shoulder and be like, what's up? Flipping your hair, helmet on, helmet off, and then helmet back on, be like, let's go, boys. Is that kind of how, right? I mean, I can see Branch like it. Hey, actually, real quick, Branch, how did you get picked to go?
It was a game of a tournament of like rock, paper, scissors. So,
yes.
Yeah, we were all sitting there, and one of the older swimmers was like, yeah, like let the younger guys do like rock, paper, scissors, something to go on it. Everyone did rock, paper, scissors. I was just sitting there, and I finally got up and did rock, paper, scissors. Ended up winning. I was like, oh, okay, well, this is actually happening. I got to go grab my helmet or something. So I was all nervous and stuff. So it was good though.
Was this your first rescue?
Yes. Yeah.
Your very first one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, memorable case. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming back to you later. We're gonna get more from you. All right, so
Jason,
sir.
If I can interject on that, and you may talk about it more later, but as I learned after the fact, like that sounded like such a cool process where I think we had 8 rescue swimmers in the Cape Disappointment classroom, like ready to go. And, we hear this Mayday call. We had also gotten an EPIRB hit. So like an emergency position indicating radio beacon hit that, hey, there might've been a vessel that was sinking. So we had two things telling us there was SAR going on, and we're radioing back to the classroom saying, hey, we need a rescue swimmer. And I don't know, Branch could probably elaborate on it, but it sounded like the older guys really empowered the younger rescue swimmers. It's like, hey, let's go, young guns. Like, this is it. And everybody knew the weather was terrible. So, I mean, they knew that, like, hey, this could be a real case. And so that was really cool to hear, just, you know, the mentoring and the older guys, like, putting the, you know, giving the younger guys a chance to step up. So that was really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Like, hey, it's time to earn it. Yeah, I mean, you already earned it. It's cool. Go get it. Oh, that's funny. All right. So you guys come into land. You know there's a rescue. Branch, you jump on the aircraft. Let me go to you. Tripp, give me, like, you're sitting right seat. So I assume you're the one briefing kind of everybody in Branch as to what's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so at that point, with the way the weather was, we didn't really know what the nature of distress or even where the distress was. So we got Branch on board, and Will was really doing what we call like the button pushing, the flight planning, and building us in a route to get out of the Cape Disappointment pad into the river and then out over the Pacific there. So Will put a flight plan in that gets us out clear of terrain, and we start trucking outbound on that, not knowing yet what we are getting ourselves into. So I would say for 15 minutes or so after takeoff, it was just us battling the weather conditions and then really just trying to find where this guy was and what was going on. So it was a combination of using our direction finder, our DF, trying to hail him. And so anytime we could get him to say Mayday or call us, you know, it gives us a general direction as to where he is. We're using that. We're using the DF to pick up the EPIRB, and we're feeding all of that information back to our command center, and they're triangulating it. And then ultimately what happened is we flew out to where we thought he was. He quit talking for a little bit, and we finally got him to answer about 2 minutes later, and the needle pointed directly behind us. So we knew that we had overflown him, and he was somewhere between us and shore. So we turned around, started going back. And then that's when we found 2 of the 47-foot motor lifeboats from the National Motor Lifeboat School had just crossed the bar, and the 3 of us hit the search area. And truthfully, it's crazy as it sounds, those boats are, I want to say, around 23 feet tall or so total. The swells were just as tall as them, and they're the ones who saw the boat first. So we're sitting there, we're at 300 feet, searching, looking, and then Chief Hansen, who was on one of the boats, you can hear her call out like, hey, vessel in sight, 10 o'clock. Like, all of us, like, Cage, look in that direction. It's like, holy crap, there it is, like, game on. And then that's when we hopped into all of our briefs and really just getting everybody on the same page as to what we thought was going to happen.
Nice. All right, before we get into that part of it, Will, you and I had talked a little bit offline when you and I really started getting all this stuff together. You'd mentioned there was a lot of work with the vessel or the 2 Coast Guard boats that were there. What was their role in a lot of this?
Absolutely, yeah. So, and to add on to what Tripp was saying, the visibility and ceilings had dropped significantly at this point too. So it was really like the timing was the worst case timing for this guy as far as weather was concerned. So we were cruising, you know, at times at like 150 feet. So we're trying to navigate, you know, out the mouth of the Columbia River. So making sure we're not running into, you know, large cargo ships coming in. But when we established comms with the 47s, and just hearing their communication over the radio was really impressive, because you could tell that they were in it. I mean, they were in some serious swell, talking about the state of the Columbia River bar, talking about, based on the forecast of the increasing sea state, that the bar may be closing that day. And so that, you know, they would potentially have an even more challenging time coming back in and crossing the bar again on the back half of the rescue. So, you know, we were just listening to their operational risk management and really impressed with how they were like aggressively pursuing the SAR case, but then also recognizing all the different hazards. I mean, really a lot of just the objective hazards of the seas and the winds that day. And so, I don't know, we were really impressed with their ability to get out there and really like pursue this case and get on scene. And like Tripp said, they were the ones that spotted it. At that point, we were kind of flying offset from them, and we had input a search pattern in to be searching that area. How long it would have taken us to find him, who knows, you know, and as you know, the video shows, it ended up being like time was of the essence because that boat ended up capsizing. So, you know, I think, you know, their ability to get out there was huge and instrumental in like the successful outcome for the survivor. And then as we get into talking more about on scene, they worked very hard to get him a life jacket. And I mean, in my opinion, he survived because he had a life jacket on. I mean, he was on that boat when it capsized and got tossed. And, you know, he was able to resurface and Branch got him. So the fact that the boats were able to find him and get him that life jacket was, I think, essential. I don't think it would have been the same outcome without their efforts.
The two Coast Guard boats, the 47s, rolled up and threw a life jacket over to this guy to try to help him out. And was there any instruction to try to get him to drive the boat like back out to sea or anything like that, or do you know?
Well, so it was a very long process, and I'll let the other guys tell it because I was in the left seat, could see less of it, but it was. I think it took 4 or 5 attempts to get the life jacket. They were trying to throw it via like a hand line, but I'll let these guys talk about it.
Well, Tripp, let me come to you because you're sitting right seat. You've got the boat out at probably the 1 to 2 o'clock position ish. Good reference. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. Hey, just saying. I'm just saying. All right. So what are you looking at with the Coast Guard boats? I am going to come to you guys, Joe, Kyle, Branch. I'm coming to you guys. I promise.
Yeah, one of the so yeah, we definitely had the boat at like the 1 to 2 o'clock, but something that we as aviators fail to realize a lot of times is like when we're sitting in there with all of our hearing protection on, like we can talk to each other crystal clear, but we can make too much noise for people. So we intentionally backed off about 200 to 300 yards, but the wind was so strong that we just sat there in a hover watching the case with plenty of power. So we could have flown out at any time, single engine. So we just sat back, watch them, let them do their thing. And I don't know, time feels different when you're in this, but I would say 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
We watched them approach the boat. I want to say 3 to 5 times, throwing them a heaving line, getting them a life jacket, trying different things. But when we arrived first, and I'll kind of backtrack a little bit, you asked about, were they trying to get him to turn back out to sea? There was this weird part of it where we had the Mayday call to begin with. We had like a second Mayday call. And then at one point he made a random radio call about like, I'm outside of the Columbia River. I don't remember the exact details, but something with some kind of little detail. But then we never talked to him again. And then about 10 or 15 minutes later is when we find him. But when we get to the boat, we can't find anybody on board. Doesn't answer the radio. Nobody's on deck. Nobody's in the bridge. And so there was a period of time where it was like, maybe we need to shift this focus to a person in the water or looking for a raft behind this boat that's just driving, because the boat was moving pretty erratically with the swell and wasn't really staying in the swell like you would expect a boat to. So together with the 47s, they started, I would just call it maybe like circling the boat, trying to find somebody. And when I was in the right seat, I came down the left side of the boat so I could look real closely inside. Joe and Kyle could look out the cabin door. And we looked and like got close to the boat, trying to make a bunch of noise to make anybody come outside that would. Nothing. Then we came back around to the left side. Will took the controls, got really close to the starboard bow. And at that point, we saw a hand just like stick out of a curtain and wave. And all you could just see was like this little bitty white palm on the side of this whole boat. And that's when we knew that there was somebody on board. So that's when we backed off. The 47 stayed close. And then within the next couple minutes, he made his way to the stern of the boat so they could start giving him verbal commands.
Gotcha. And at what point did the two Coast Guard 47s back off?
That was at the point where they had successfully gotten him a life jacket, and they were discussing using one of their boat crew members as a surface rescue swimmer. So that's when we kind of chimed in saying, hey, we have this guy in the back, Branch, who like, he'd probably be a really good option to use right here. So that's when in the communication with them, it's like they got him the jacket, but now it was kind of time for us to switch positions, and it would be safer for Branch to do the rescue versus one of theirs.
Right on. All right.
Yes. Hey, I'll add
go ahead, Will.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I mean, we talked about the operational risk management earlier, and like this case, it came into play a lot and it was really challenging in this part because we've got two different assets. So you've got the motor lifeboats, and, you know, they're experts of their world, but, you know, we can't fully assess their risk versus gain. And then we know our own risk versus gain, but you're trying to figure out, hey, what's the best asset to do the job? Is it their surface swimmer? They had already ruled out there was no way they were going to come alongside and get this guy on board. I mean, it was like 20 to 25 foot seas. The buoy there at the time was showing like a 23 foot mean swell at 12 seconds, and it was blowing 50 knots at that time. They were not able to do like a transfer like that. And they had actually asked us, hey, can you hoist this guy from the boat? We gave that a quick no. I mean, we just the size of the boat. I don't know.
I love it.
It's like 40 feet, and in those type of seas, we weren't going to be able to hoist directly to the boat. So it was really an interesting time, kind of those 5 minutes where we're trying to figure out with the boat, like, hey, what's the best way to do this, and I guess what's the best way to balance the risk and manage the risk.
I love it. Love it. All right. Let me get to Joe and Kyle. You guys roll up into a hover. Cabin door comes open. What are you guys looking at? Because I already know what Kyle's looking at. Where's my camera and how am I going to film this? That's exactly what went through your head. I know that. So what are you guys looking at?
Oh, I mean, you know, I was just trying to do the best I could to kind of sit back and help Joe and Branch out. But I mean, looking at all that stuff, it was interesting watching those boat crews come up, trying to get stuff to the guy in the back of the vessel. They did get the life jacket on. I think they actually had a radio that broke free. But once they finally backed off, it was just, I mean, it was impressive for me sitting in the back listening to the conversations and the CRM stuff between Mr. Hayes and Branch and Joe getting ready to get Branch in the water. But I mean, Joe was really the guy in the door, kind of running through all the CRM and talking about how to successfully do this and keep Branch as safe as possible, because that was our number one priority.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, if you don't mind, give us a little rundown. Like, what were you thinking? I mean, so real quick, you guys specifically have, I mean, you're AHRS instructors, so you guys have been hoisting for quite a while. You've probably hoisted in seas similar to that. So what's going through your head with, especially putting Branch down, knowing that Branch is your first case, and Branch, I'm not taking anything away from you, but because we all have our first case, but at the same time, as the experienced guy in the door, you're like, I mean, heck, I remember my flight mech. You scared? No, you should be. It lowers me out. I'm like, so Joe, what you're looking at it like, what's your evaluation of this?
Yeah, so whenever the boats kind of got out of the area for us, we asked them to give us a little bit of room just because of the swells, and we didn't know how close to the water we were going to have to sit down and hover. We started trying to figure out other ways of doing it other than just going straight to putting Branch in the water. One of those ways was the boat crew had that radio that broke free from them whenever they were trying to throw the heaving line on. We also have a radio up in the aircraft, and I started rigging it to see if I could just hoist the radio onto the boat and get it to him. And after some equipment issues and different things like that, I was back there working, and I just looked up at Branch and said, "This is stupid. Let's just get him." So,
Yes. And
So,
Branch is
Mr.
like,
Hayes-
yeah, man, that's what I would have said 5 minutes ago, man.
Yeah, coach.
when Mr. Hayes was completely on board, he had already said that we could use our rescue swimmer. And as you said, the rest of us have been doing this a while. Like we teach this stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is Branch's first week. This is his first SAR case. And to his credit, everything that we went through in the aircraft, he was giving feedback on. He was telling us what he wanted to do, what he didn't want to do. We both came up with a plan of how we were going to rescue this guy. And the story later on is none of those plans worked out. We just had to adopt different policies in order to make it work out. But Branch was great all the way through it. And there was not like a time where there was just one person in the aircraft making all the decisions. We decided, we talked about things. We even had a moment where that we foreshadowed what was actually going to happen to the boat, because I turned around to Branch at one point and I think I said along the lines of, "Hey, see the right side of that boat? Let's not go there." So everything worked out.
Thank God.
Yeah, that would have been rather tragic. But we decided on a particular kind of hoist and started moving in from there. And things were very black and white at that moment. And as the rescue kind of progressed, it wasn't a black and white case at all.
Right. Oh yeah. No.
So you want me to start going into the actual hoisting evolutions?
No, let me come down to Branch. Branch, all right,
Yeah.
buddy. Cabin door comes open. You see like big waves outside of training limits. I'm just gonna throw that out there. 24 breakers. What's going through your head, dude?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of nervous. I mean, it was first case
Don't
and
say
everything.
that. Don't say
But
that. That's
but,
awesome.
I knew I was in great hands. I knew I was in great hands. And something that I thought was really cool is when we were doing the brief to go in, like, I mean, I was nervous. I was like going off ICS, and Lieutenant Hayes was like, no. So I was like, oh yeah, we got to go over this, huh? And then we came up with a.
Bro, I love that. I love that. All right, put me in, coach. Oh wait, we gotta talk about this first. My bad.
I think the exact words were, I go, "Branch, do you feel comfortable doing this?" He's like, "Yes, sir." Going off ICS. I think I said, "We gotta talk about this, man." Like, well, hold on.
Yeah, but what I thought was really cool is we came up with like a plan A and B. So there's two plans for getting the guys. So I thought that was pretty neat. And I had to go to the bathroom really bad, so that's kind of what I was thinking about. I need to get in that water. I had to go.
Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, we'll go into the hoist. Go ahead. Actually, let me set it up with with Tripp first. You're coming in. How close were you getting to the vessel?
Yeah, not. I know I look at the site picture often, but it was a balance between, we needed Branch to be close enough where like we didn't want to be far away, where when we put Branch in the water, if the current or a wave moved the boat, there was like Branch was never going to catch it. But we also couldn't get the helicopter so close where if a wave catches it like it did, we're in a compromised position. When we put him in the water, I would estimate we were 40 yards away from the boat. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Off the stern. And the whole intent of it was we matched the current, or we figured out what the current was, matched the boat's drift. So we knew that when we put Branch in the water, it wouldn't push the boat at Branch. So we put him directly behind the stern and let the current help Branch. I mean, you saw it. It looked like he was like swimming on top of the water.
Yeah. I'm gonna get to that in a minute too.
Yeah, but
Freaking motorboat right there.
Yeah, that's kind of how we broke down like where we were gonna put Branch in.
Nice. All right, Joe, hoisting him in. Like altitude, hoist cable out, how much?
Yeah, I think we were sitting probably just a little high, probably 40 to 50 feet, give or take. And
from the crest.
is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I was all over the
It was
place.
probably a little lower from the crest. We were constantly adjusting both our position and altitude for the kind of seas that we had out there.
Yeah.
He went out the door. I hoisted him down, and I had to hold him for quite a while because we had a set that came in on us, and I didn't want to put him in the water and immediately have him start trying to figure out the next set that was going to come in, or have him really navigate the next wave that was going to come in. So
Nice.
put him there for a good, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds, quite a while actually in terms of hoisting. Waited for a little bit of a lull to come in. And whenever I got that lull, I really sent him into the water. He detached very quickly and started swimming towards the boat. I think all of this happens a lot quicker than other cases. Whenever I'm actually putting them into the water, it was just a small window that we had, and I was really, I don't know, just a little bit of adrenaline, maybe. I don't know, just getting him into the water. So it probably wasn't even a very good entry for him. It was probably rather quick.
Little cannonball action, douche.
It really was. It really was. It was not my smoothest work I've ever had. But he went in the water, disconnected himself, and immediately started swimming towards the boat.
Right.
I retrieved the hoist hook, and then we waited for everything else to kind of pan out as far as him getting the survivor into the water.
All right. Branch, you're up, dude. Game on. You're in the water. Dude, everybody in the planet that's done search and rescue saw you swimming balls to the wall. Straight. There was a wake behind you. You know this, right? Like it was awesome. I'm like, damn, he is moving.
I mean,
anyway, go ahead.
I was swimming, but people were talking about I was swimming super fast and stuff. No, like the helicopter was moving backwards, and there was a current.
No.
I was like, like I was trying to move, but I'm not a super fast swimmer. So, but no, I got over there, and I was yelling at him to get in the water, and he was yelling.
Hold on,
yelling
real quick.
back.
You were at. This is another question because it's a little bit hard to see from the video. So you make it all the way to him to be able to have a conversation with him, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're watching wave sets come in and boat, and you got head on a swivel. Even though it's your first case, I know you have full situational awareness. I'm throwing you a bone,
Yeah,
dude.
absolutely.
All right. So you're having a conversation with him. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm talking to him. He's yelling back. I don't know what he's saying. It's loud and stuff. I'm like, just get in the water. Like, let's go. We don't have tons of time here. Like, I'm trying to let's get out of here. And then he just pointed over, and I just saw the white water come in, and yeah, that was kind of it. You know.
Duck dive. Just get pummeled. Like.
Yeah, no, I tried to back away from the boat a little bit. Because I mean, we did brief that like if a wave did come like that, didn't want me getting curled up in the boat at all.
Okay.
So I tried to back away a little bit, and then none of the other waves that did anything like that to the boat, like flipped it or anything. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna duck dive under this wave, come back up, and then get him off the boat and put the sling on him, and then get the bear hook, and it'll be easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's not really what happened.
All right, so when the wave starts coming, you back off, you go to duck dive under it. Are you getting pummeled underneath it, or how'd that work? Or did you have pretty good control?
Yeah, I had zero control.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it was eye-opening. I mean, like, because we had been doing this stuff all week, and like I'd gotten hit by waves, but I mean, it was violent, which was kind of wild. Like, it was impressive how violent it actually was. Just getting thrown around and stuff. Um, I felt bad for him. I mean, he took a ride on that boat and just tumbled off of it and then got curled up in the wave too. I was like, that's pretty wild. But yeah, and then when I came up, they immediately saw the hook coming down, which was awesome. It was a sight for sore eyes. I was like, oh yeah, get that while I was looking for him at the same time, and then saw his head pop up in the water, and that's when Joe brought me up a little bit, and then kind of waved off, and then we just went into a direct, which is something we had been practicing too, which is pretty neat.
So when you say a direct, you stayed connected to the hook when you went to get him in the water, direct deployment?
Yeah, the second time. Just
Right
a direct
on.
deployment.
When you guys briefed, let me back up real quick. Dude, I love that, by the way. You just got like stonewashed. Freaking awesome. Anyway, when you guys briefed to get off the hook and swim over to the boat, it's interesting as I listen and talk to people around the world, because there's such like a 50-50. You don't ever let the swimmer off the hook. And you're like, yes, we do. And this is the best way to do it. No, keeping them on the hook is the best way. The fact that you did both on this in particular mission, that to me is pretty cool. But what was the decision making with getting off the hook originally? Was that just to swim over to try to get him in the water, have a conversation with him?
Yeah, that go ahead.
That was exactly it. So I'll kind of get into the specifics of it. That decision was made because we had those boats on scene there. I don't think that I would have chose to do that particular kind of hoist if I didn't have some sort of backup for Branch in
Right
case of emergency. Since I had the boats there, I thought that Branch going out the door, being able to get away from the helicopter, and we did slide back significantly, probably 30-40 yards. Once we dropped him off, we slid back so that he could communicate with the survivor, and then also make sure the survivor had the flotation, everything on prior to entering the water, because we obviously didn't mean for him to enter the water the way he did. We wanted Branch to have those conversations. And so we chose a lull. We thought we were going to have a longer time in between those waves. And I think that was the ultimate decision to actually him coming off of the hook.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm all about it. Go ahead, Will.
So one thing that's cool is like we had been practicing this stuff for 2 weeks, leading up to this, which was awesome. As not Branch, he was there for the week. But Tripp, Joe, Kyle, and I had been there. So, I wasn't doing the hoisting. I'm sitting in the left seat, but I had full confidence in these guys just because I knew like, hey, we've been doing this for the past 2 weeks. And the sea state that day, I mean, it was big, but there were not those big spilling waves. I mean, that was the biggest spilling wave all day, and so
the one.
yeah, one of the like piece, part of the calculus with him getting off the hook is like, we better be damn sure we can get him back on the hook. Yeah. And I feel like we all felt confident based on the proficiency that we had and the conditions that we saw that day. I had full confidence in these guys. Like, Branch is going to get off the hook and we're going to get him back on. The direct, so keeping him on the hook definitely has some advantages. And honestly, if the seas are too bad, it might be the only option because you're not willing to accept the risk of him going off the hook and then not getting him back on. But it is, I think from a hoisting, like a flying and the hoisting perspective, it's more demanding for a longer period of time.
Oh, staying attached to the hook?
Yeah, I mean, the swimmer,
agreed.
He's hooked. He's connected to the helicopter for the entire rescue. So we have to be very precise and move with him as he's getting slammed by waves. So we practice it, but it is super demanding. So if we have conditions where they're big, but we feel confident that like, hey, we put him in the water, we back off. Now we can move back in for the pickup and we can time the pickup for a lull in the waves. I guess there's still a lot of precision required in the flying, but it's not for such an extended period of time as would require by a direct hoist. So,
Yeah.
I don't know,
For
Tripp,
sure.
is that
Yeah, and I mean, something I'm thinking about as we talk through this again is just, Jason, like, our primary device we use for water rescue is the basket.
Yep. Totally.
But
Love it.
the basket, but in these high seas, that basket can be violent, and is usually our less preferred because of how jerky we are with that. And then, like, you think about branch trying to get somebody in a basket in 20 to 30 foot seas, it's just
It's a
not
pain in the
ideal.
ass.
So that's one consideration that we had. But then the second, and something that we don't normally think about, but we discussed before we started the evolution, is this guy now had on the most like awkwardly fitting enormous type 1 PFD. I mean, it was like 8-inch floats, and it's like awkward. His arms are already kind of stiff. And we had concern if Branch could actually weave a sling through it and successfully hoist the guy, or was gonna Branch gonna have to like take off this PFD to put a sling on. And so with all of that in mind, we thought by just having the helicopter sit directly on top of them while Branch is doing it, and it was going to take longer, that was kind of the worser of the options of just having Branch disconnect. Ultimately, though, I don't remember all of the footage that was released by the Coast Guard, but what you saw is we started with our plan, then the boat overturned, and we went right back to doing a direct deployment where the swimmer is connected. And it took Branch a decent amount of time to get the sling hooked up on this guy once we did that. So that's just kind of like some of the things that we were thinking about, like, and why we elected to have Branch disconnect.
Love it. All right, Branch, I'm going to come back to you real quick. And so now we're going to turn this into a direct deployment. So you're staying attached to the hook. You've got the quick strap with you. You get to the guy, and you got a badass flight neck. So he gets you that 2 to 3 feet away. See, I got you. Don't you worry, Joe. Man, I got it. So go ahead, Branch, run us through it. You got the guy in the water?
Yeah, like you said, got put right on top of him. He immediately turns around, and when he came up from the water, I don't know what happened with his life jacket, but it was over one arm. So it wasn't like on like over like normal, it was over one arm. So I was trying to get under that. But yeah, he immediately turns around, and I'm like, no, turn back around. And then he's like yelling at me, like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, nothing, stop, don't do anything. He starts like pushing me a little bit, and I'm like, you stop grabbing me. And then I'm talking to him, like trying to get this on him. And I'm like, dude, stop grabbing me.
For the
and
record,
yeah.
my money is on you. I'm just throwing that out there, dude. If it's a wrestling match under the helicopter, and yeah, my money's on you.
Yeah. So, and I was definitely pretty cognizant of, surroundings at this point, trying to see if another wave would come, because I have heard stories of like a wave hitting while you're attached to the hook, and it could part the cable or something like that. So I was trying to move as fast as possible. I know they were working pretty hard up there, trying to keep everything level and everything. And but yeah, I got him hooked up. But yeah, it was really awkward with how his life vest was on there. And I didn't really want to take it off of him because then he wouldn't really have flotation even though I was there. But yeah, so got him up on it and then just gave it ready for pickup. But, yeah.
Bring him in. Joe, ready for pickup. You
Yeah,
got to time a wave now because you still got big waves.
Yeah, so jumping back just a little bit, once that
Sure.
wave hit, remember how I said that we moved back about 30, 40 yards. So that wave hit and we didn't have to move. Like it actually tumbled Branch for that distance. So he was under the water for a good amount of time. Everybody in the air crew became a little concerned. However, for some odd reason, I was not concerned at all. I was like, oh, he's going to pop up. He's fine. I was actually more concerned for the survivor than I was for Branch. Like, Branch is going to swim through this all day. It's nothing.
I think the Coast Guard deleted what I said. Just not calm.
So I waited for him to pop up. Kyle got eyes on the survivor whenever the survivor came up. We actually did not brief that hoist. I just sent the hook out the door to get down to branch. And I'm not entirely sure how Mr. Hayes knew what was happening because I wasn't communicating that with him yet. And he just said, all right, Joe, get me in there. So looking through your rearview mirror, I have no idea how the hell he knew that a hoist hook was going down the bridge at that point. But got him in, got the hook right to branch, luckily. And branch hooked up. And before I even started pulling branch out of the water, I said, all right, we're just going to move straight to the survivor. I'm not bringing branch up into the cabin. So we had a set of waves that was coming in, and I had to wait for that set to be out of there before I picked branch up. As soon as branch got picked up, though, luckily we got another lull and delivered him right to the survivor. From there, we didn't entirely know what was going to happen. We didn't know if branch was going to come back off the hook, how long it was going to take him. Did know that the flotation of the survivor was not great, but we had 50, 60 mile per hour winds at this point in the hoist. So all of the rotor wash was well behind us. And so I don't think that we were putting any rotor wash on the survivor at that point. So we just went right in, hovered right over the top of them, and branch started working. It was taking them quite a while. So I decided, hey, instead of just constantly telling the pilot where to position the aircraft in order to stay over the top, I decided, hey, let me see if Mr. Hayes can actually get eyes back on branch. So I started paying out a bunch of hoist cable, and we came back, and the entire air crew ended up being able to see what branch was doing until he got the survivor situated enough where that we could hoist him up. The PFD looked like it was hell on branch. The survivor was not the most cooperative in the world, so I was just feeling for the poor guy while he was down there doing all this. But whenever we got the ready for pickup, got back over the top end of branch real quick, and lucky that we did, and that we had that kind of precision flying from Mr. Hayes, because right whenever I picked him up, we had another set of 20, 30 footers that was going to come through. And so I had to pick him up, and we had to con the aircraft up in order to clear branch and the survivor from getting hit by the next wave.
Oh, wow. Sick.
As
I'm
the
all
survivor,
excited. I'm sorry. I'm so excited right now. You know what, Branch? I'm so excited for you right now. It's legit. Awesome.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
keep going.
great.
Sorry, Joe.
he did absolutely phenomenal through it. As they were coming up, guy's suit or his jacket was kind of obscuring the sling, and I didn't entirely know how he was hooked up to the hoist or how he was connected to branch. And so I turned around to Kyle and was like, hey, can you help me get him in? Because I don't want him slipping out. So they came up in a little bit of a swing because it wasn't the greatest pickup in the world, but had to get him out of the water. And so as I was trying to control the swing up, Kyle reached down and grabbed either Branch's hand or something on Branch. And Kyle helped me get them into the cabin pretty efficiently, really. And once they started coming into the cabin, it was just like a huge sigh of relief, because what started as this nice policy-driven hoist that is, you go out and train for constantly, just went completely 10 different directions on us, and it just happened to work out. I think we had the right crew for what we had. And so Kyle getting the guy into the cabin, got me where I could actually make radio calls and different things like that, saying, hey, we're one man heavy. We're going to go screaming into Air Station Astoria. So yeah, things just happened to work out. They did.
I like it. And that was the moment where Kyle put the camera down to help you get him in, and then picked it back up to get my favorite part, which was Branch high five. Did you see that? Dude, I swear to God, it's my favorite. Oh, I loved it. Anyway,
Kyle
dude, that
actually,
was awesome.
yeah, Kyle actually, even though he had a camera up, he did put it away for the actual pickup. Once that boat rolled, he went from, okay, I'm just an extra man here, to, oh, I'm going to become more of a valuable asset here soon. So actually, while I was watching the waves incoming and timing out these waves to when I was going to pick Branch up, Kyle was looking for keeping eyes on the survivor for me. So I didn't even have to do that. I had somebody backing me up on it. And then he also saw the ready for pickup out of Branch, which I didn't even see because I was looking at the waves that were incoming. So
Nice.
Going from cameraman to a very valuable crewman at that point was essential.
Thank you, Mr. Spielberg. Well done. Cut. Can we redo that? I need a different angle. That's great. Man, guys, this is awesome. Well done to all of you guys, the entire crew. I'm going to throw kudos to the boat, the 47 footers out there. Let me throw out one more question, and that is, having done this, and if you were able to do this whole thing over again, would you change anything or do anything different? Let me start with you, Will.
I was thinking about this a little bit. So there was a period of time when, so as Branch is swimming towards the boat, and Tripp like verbalizes this, he's like, he sees the waves, that big wave coming, and he's like, we got to warn Branch. And I didn't know what, like, I don't remember what I said, like how, it didn't click in my brain right now. But if I could do it all over again, I would have been in the radio, like screaming at him, stop swimming. Basically because we saw, we could see that wave bearing down. Whether or not he could have heard me, I have no idea. But if I could do it all over again, I would have, reacted more quickly to Tripp's observation that, like, hey, like, there's a big wave coming. I don't know, Branch, if you were wearing like an earpiece, or if you had the radio on your vest, if it would have made a difference or not. But yeah, that was like one takeaway I had. There's, a lot, you have a case and you debrief it and you're like, I could have done X, Y, and Z better. So that's always, part of the process of us, getting better, staying humble, and learning from our cases. So
I like it. Good advice. Tripp.
And this is tough.
I know, right? Hey, you know what? If you feel like everything went exactly as planned, like organized chaos, I'm good with that too. I'll throw that. I'll help you out a little bit.
No, I think maybe two things. Like, one, I probably would have let Will sit right seat. He's way better at voice than me. And he wouldn't have felt the anxiety, or I would not have had the anxiety that I had when that wave crashed. And then the second, kind of like along the same topics of Will, I know that before Branch went off of ICS, like, we talked about a plan and where we wanted Branch to go. But as I think back, like, I don't know if I explicitly said, do not go on the right side of that boat. We just talked about where to approach the boat from. And there was like 3 to 5 seconds of sheer anxiety of, like, you see the wave. I was like, Will, we got to tell Branch. Will says how. And all it's just like, Branch, don't swim anymore. Just stop swimming. Like, we just do not want him to get any closer to the boat. So that's just absolute clarity that of how to make sure that our swimmer is not in a compromised position.
Right on. Right on. I'm okay with that. I appreciate you guys up front, as looking out for us, saying, stop, or hey, even though we really can't hear you, it's good to know it's there. All right. Kyle, let me jump to you. Would you have done anything different other than like have 4 cameras set up and probably one on Branch?
And I would have not stopped recording. I was just trying to look out for my boy, get his first rescue recorded, and it was just when the boat hit, it was just like, gotta catch it, and then the second I saw him pop up, it was like, and everything got to get back down, got to get him back in the plane safely. So
I love it. I love it. Joe?
No, absolutely nothing.
No?
I
Right on.
think everybody did their jobs, and we adapted, and everybody's alive, right?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. No,
Right
I
on.
wouldn't have done it differently.
And Branch.
Yeah, I think there's things I could have did better. But I think as a whole, definitely I was in great hands, and then it was just like everything that went wrong got fixed, and it went perfectly given the situation.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So my own curiosity question. So I remember being in big waves at one point in my career, and I remember looking back at the training that we went through in A school, and I was like, yeah, this is what we train for, and this is why we do what we do. Give me your perspective from all the training you went through A school, and then being in that situation.
Oh yeah, let alone just that week. A school, everything leading up to it, I would have died if I didn't have any training. That would not have happened. But I think what was extremely valuable was the training that week, even in AHRS, learning how to navigate all that, doing all that, and also having a whole crew of AHRS instructors.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of those things that made everything go very smoothly.
Right on. So you mentioned just a little bit, you were when you saw everything before you even left the cabin, you were a little nervous going out, getting into the water and starting to swim over to the vessel. Are you on fire, ready to go, zoned in?
Yeah, I think it was one of those things in the cabin. It was I was in a classroom full of swimmers who have all had cases before. And I've never had one, and they let me go, which was pretty sick. They didn't have to do that. They could have been yeah, I'm going.
Shout out to all the boys in the room. Letting Branch go get it. Well done, boys.
That's what I'm saying. And they all could have done probably way better and faster than I did. So, but
they weren't there, Branch. They weren't there.
Yeah, but when I was in the water, it was was able to kind of lock in. There's definitely a little bit of anxiousness after that wave hit, not wanting to get tumbled like that again, or the survivor to get tumbled like that again. But no, it was definitely training kicked in. It was very valuable training throughout the whole week. So
sick. That was a really nice shout out to all your instructors, by the way. Well done.
Yeah, it was.
And it was good to know that the local law enforcement took care of the problem of the guys that you rescued. So we'll leave it at that one. Guys, I'll tell you what, man, if you guys have anything else, you're more than welcome to share it now. Other than that, I'm willing to cut it out because this was an amazing debrief, and I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. So you guys got anything else?
Just super proud of these guys. Anytime you hoist a survivor, when they get into the cabin, it's an amazing feeling. Because usually the hardest part's over. On that particular day, we had to go back into Astoria low vis, which we had done many times before, so it wasn't a big deal. But we were radioing back into swimmer control, and the classroom could hear it too. And they, we told them we had a survivor on board, and they had been listening to all the radio comms, so it was cool. I knew they knew that Branch had got one. So it was badass. I think they were all pretty stoked. Yeah, no, just proud of these guys. Super proud to be part of that case with them and part of the AR's crew. And yeah, it was really cool how it came together.
Dude, love it. Joe, did you have one more thing?
Yeah, if you don't mind. You said a couple minutes ago you gave a huge shout out to the boat crew, and thank you for doing that. I
don't call it the Real ResQ for nothing,
Yeah, that big wave that came through, it made the case as high profile as it did, and it should have. Branch did an amazing job with it. I think it overshadows some of the other smaller stories that's still awesome stories with the case, such as the boat crews that were not only transiting that bar to try to get to the survivor, but they were also transiting in order to cover us because they knew an aircraft was flying really low to the water and next to zero visibility and 60-mile-per-hour winds, and they weren't going to turn around. And so as they press forward, I think that's an awesome story. My own little personal story of, hey, that was probably my last rescue or my last case, period. And it was Branch's first. And so that's a personal
awesome.
story that I think is really cool.
Right on.
The pilots that navigated in almost zero visibility, trying to get us out there in the first place, and then us not having any certainty what's going on, and still pressing on because we thought that the risk versus gain was there. So all these smaller stories that kind of come into play, yeah, they're overshadowed, but I think they're still worth mentioning, especially boat crews that were putting themselves on the line that doesn't really get any recognition for it, you know?
Yeah.
So shout out to them.
Right on, dude. I appreciate that. Last call. Right on. I'll tell you what, guys, I cannot thank you enough. I really can't. I appreciate the full debrief. I know there's a lot of people that are listening right now that are like, wow, that's how that all went down. So thank you so much for sharing it. And I'll be in touch with you guys. And one of these days, I'm coming out to AHARS just to hang out with you guys one more time, just to be there again. All right.
That's awesome.
And if you'll maybe I'll just jump in the water and Branch, you can come save me. Okay.
Branch,
Oh.
back.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Right on. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much. And I'll be in touch. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you on as a guest. Or if you have any questions about rescue or anything else we talk about here, send an email to jason@therealresq.com. That's Jason at TheRealResQ.com. You can also check us out on our web pages, therealresq.com, our Facebook page, and our Instagram page @TheRealResQ. Again, a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember, when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.